The fashion industry hasn't always had our best interest at heart. Even way back in the Victorian era, the Rational Dress Society was fighting against the ridiculous corsets women were forced to wear. Most recently, activists are now bringing attention to how our desire for the latest looks is destroying our bank accounts and the planet.
Today, writer Zach Stafford joins us to take a look at two new designers who suggest futuristic-looking jumpsuits are the way to go to make clothing more economical and ecologically friendly. Join us for this and all the hot news. The autopsy reports are in. Prince died of fentanyl toxicity, an overdose of an opiate painkiller.
A new study says more Americans are willing to admit they're getting it on with someone of the same sex.
Zach Stafford's one weird trick to getting a straight guy into the sack.
And Tinder's CEO, Sean Rad, says the company is working to make the dating hookup app better for transgender people. I'm Fausto Fernos.
I'm Mark Filion.
And this is Feast of Fun.
Not shaving gives me more time for misbehaving. Get this sexy t-shirt and all our fabulous designs at feastoffun.com/store.
The autopsy results on Prince's body are in. Tinder's CEO admits to the dating app's poor record in serving the needs of gender non-conforming people, and a new survey reveals more Americans are willing to admit they have had same-sex encounters. Woo! It's a good day on Feast of Fun. Today, we're joined by writer Zach Stafford, whose recent article in The Guardian takes on the fashion industry, saying their incessant need to sell cheap but beautiful clothing to the masses is killing us softly. Welcome back, Zach.
I'm back.
So before we get to talking about how fashion is fucked up and destroying the planet, let's talk about what really matters is getting our dicks sucked on Tinder.
Yes.
The three of us have been blocked on Tinder because we changed our gender identity to female, from male to female, in order to access the bi-curious men.
The closeted straight man, or the guys who primarily identify as straight but might want a little something on the side.
Exactly.
And then overnight, we got blocked from Tinder and never to
people
be
were reporting us.
Yeah, they were like, this is a man and it says woman. And so Zach, you actually wrote to the CEO of Tinder and he wrote back to you.
Well, yeah, so I wrote an article, which I think I came on and talked about that, going through this
we've
process.
been covering this for a while now.
This has been going on for a long time. This is some deep investigation.
We are very deep, double deep investigation.
DP into Tinder.
DP into Tinder. So I wrote an article and their VP of communication pretty much was like, our systems don't currently support people who are in the gray, and that their policies do block folks like us, to borrow from Janet Mock's, girls like us. But last night I actually had an email from Tinder being like, you were banned because they've never, I don't know if you guys have been told you've been banned because X, Y, and Z.
No, we have not. We were never told anything.
I was finally, after many attempts, told I was banned because of this. So I responded back with, that's really problematic because the reason why I got banned by this or got flagged by those men is because they were also saying really homophobic and things and making threats to me, which is also terrible, and they should be taken down for threatening my life or being homophobic. Because if I walked into a straight bar and hit on a man and he started doing what they were doing,
it'd be a hate crime.
It would be a hate crime, or you'd be kicked out. So I don't know why you're protecting these homophobes. And I was I also need you to send me the evidence that I in fact did this, because you never even gave me a warning or anything, and nothing back. But then the CEO today gave a talk that said he's at like a Code Con or something, and he said, we are failing trans people on these apps, and he's going to change it in the next month or so.
Yeah.
So So that's exciting.
feel so vindicated here.
I do. I feel so excited because they better bring all of us back on. Right?
Well, so what I did do is I set up a new account so I had to do a fake Facebook. So I had a fake Facebook up there called Mark William because that's my middle name.
In my email, they told me don't try to make a fake Facebook because we'll find it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, so I went back on Tinder and I kept my gender as male and I was getting some contacts and stuff, but not as much as before. I feel like when Tinder was really hot when it first came out, a lot of people were on it.
Yeah.
And now it's just kind of like people, it's one of those things that's not the shiny new object anymore. So it's not as valuable to me anymore. And so anyway, we're on Facebook on my phone and we're looking for something for Fausto's sister. And so I look and I see we're looking at her Facebook page. I'm like, oh my God, did she unfriend me? Because I was using that account. And then it was just like, and so Fausto's like, just do a friend request. So he pressed do a friend request. And then his sister emails me back and she's just like, hey, so there was some fake profile using your name and da-da-da, and a friend requested me, so I reported it for being fake. And I was just like,
No, you're like Darth Vader finding out that his wife was killed.
Did you go on your phone and go to Tinder and it was
no, I didn't. I did not do the Tinder because it was just kind of like I didn't want it to, because I don't know if it also registers your phone number, kind of or your phone information.
Yeah, it does want you to verify your Facebook account with your cell phone number.
And I didn't do that.
And I did the same thing, and sure enough, because I was friends with you and my sister found that profile, she also reported me.
She reported you too, so you lost
your... Of course she did, yeah. Both of us got...
Your sister, sometimes I just want to...
That's cock-blocking ways.
I know.
So I think, here's what I'm thinking. Mm-hmm. Tinder is not the hot dating app. The hot shot it used to be anymore. So their CEO, Sean Rad, is sort of backpedaling.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out how the company fucked up. And so they're turning to, because a new study reveals that Americans are not what they say they are or used to be, or that are more willing to admit that they've had same-sex sexual experiences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have. So they did a new study in the archives of sexual behavior, and they said that same-sex experience have doubled over the past 2.5 decades. And so before, between 1980 and 2014, the percentage of men who reported having had sex with at least one man increased from 4.5% to 8.2%. And the number of women reporting having had sex with at least one woman increased from 3.6% to 8.7%.
How are they defining sex? Is this full anal penetration, or is this just fellatio? What is...
I don't know. How do you define sex?
I think you just take your whatever you define it as, a blowjob, a hand job. I think it's involves nudity and coming to orgasm together.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. What I also think interesting too is this.
Are they counting a hand job in the steam room?
Probably sexual contact.
That's what sometimes you see these studies say interactions, which is really umbrella term. So it's I gave someone a hand job.
Because if it's on the down low, ain't nobody got to know.
Yeah. That's what's also interesting though too is between 1973 and 1990, the percentage of adults who believe sexual relations between two adults of the same sex was not wrong at all. Hardly budged. It went from 11% to 13%. But since 1990, with the millennials, they figure that 49% of all adults and 63% of millennials in 2014 think that there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah. So it's weird how the change has happened so fast once you get to a certain point.
It's a generational
and it's people complain about these millennials, but God damn it, they're so right about so many things.
I'm a millennial.
You are a millennial.
I can vouch for a lot of these men that have had this 8.2%.
Well, somebody was. I think we're talking with Kitty Powers about dating apps and their business model, and part of it is a dating app is most successful when it doesn't actually deliver the goods fully. It always keeps you with that carrot, on the treadmill. Always, there's someone hotter, someone more beautiful.
If you meet somebody and you make a match, then you delete that app. That's what you're saying.
Or you're not as likely to use that app if you're getting the sex that you want on a regular basis.
Yeah,
that's true.
I mean, you're pretty comfortable with your activities, Zach.
How deep are we going to go into this?
Well, I'm just curious. Do you feel that this move is genuine on Tinder's CEO, or is this more of them trying to sort of hold on to what they've been losing because they've been so, inflexible in handling the needs of their users and sort of, categorizing them into male, female. You're here or you're kicked out if you know.
Yeah, I think that, it's kind of something they have to do as we live in this moment in which most everyone knows what transgender means. People are talking about gender as a non-binary. The bathroom thing is on TV every day. So if you have an app that just kind of looks so archaic so quickly, he has to figure out a way to keep up with the times. So now that everyone's thinking about gender and they're getting on the app being like, oh, what happened if I was a trans person? What would I pick on here? What would that be like? That's something that they're having to deal with, and they're getting a lot of complaints. I hear it all the time from people, and I know people are leaving the app, mostly queer people, because queer people do love dating apps. I mean queer people, not just gay men that are having sex with other gay men, but queer women, trans people, gender nonconforming people love these apps because they're safe for them to go on and explore and not deal with physical violence. So if there's an app that's really popular that they can't use, they're protesting about it, and they are doing that on Tumblr. So I'm sure the app is hearing.
What are they doing on Tumblr?
People on Tumblr talk about this. I think there's a thread about being trans on Tinder. I think it's called #trans Tinder.
And I went to the Reddit subgroup for transgender people. Reddit are transgender, and asked anybody there, is have you been blocked on Tinder because of your gender, either changing your gender identity or presenting one way or another? And the response was stop trying to stir up shit, Fausto.
Well, it's one of those things. It's how well do you pass? That's the thing. Are you clockable?
Yeah.
That's the other thing. But even if you put trans in your profile somewhere, somebody might be I'm attracted to you, but then I read here that you're trans. So, I hate trans people, so I'm gonna report you.
Yeah.
And I certainly I sought out, if I saw a person that was trans, I swiped right and started engaging with them and said, hey, have you had any problems and stuff? And chances were that the people that were trans were people who had just established a Tinder account, not people who had been on Tinder for a long time.
Yeah.
So my guess is that they pretty much got rid. They created a world where there were no trans people, and they were miserable.
So the CEO said, one challenge we face at Tinder is making sure our tens of millions of users around the world have the same user experience. No matter who you are, no matter what you're looking for, you should get quality matches through the Tinder experience. There's an important transgender and gender nonconforming community on Tinder who haven't had that experience yet. We haven't delivered for them, so we're working with the LGBT advisors, including transgender activists Andrea James, to help us address this important demographic. Now, why do you say uh-oh?
Because Andrea doesn't always Andrea sometimes does what's good for Andrea. And no disrespect to Andrea, but it's she's she's part of the Hollywood machine. And sometimes I feel with people who are sort of part of the Hollywood machine are glad that they're always sort of not thinking fully on the ramifications of policy. On the other hand, maybe Andrea is going to give them amazing advice and they're going to make amazing changes to their app.
I think he should call me. I was in a Twitter thing today with DeRay McKesson, who's kind of the face of Black Lives Matter, was with the owner, or was tweeting with him about this new change or about him being great. And I tweeted to DeRay, who I know personally, and I was like, you should tell him to stop being so transphobic and homophobic. And I don't usually do things like that, but I just immediately was blah. And then all these people started tweeting, well, what do you mean? What evidence do you have? Being someone that's reported on this, I was like, here's my article. And all these people were like, wow, that's fucked up. That's fucked up. So then DeRay was the one that told me about this. And I was like, he's actually going to change it. And I go, why? I look forward to our conversation about it. Because I plan on having a full article with him. I want to talk to him and be like, what are you going to do about the damage you've done to trans people who've faced the violence? Because it is traumatizing to be kicked off these apps and be trans. And also the fact that it does sync to someone's Facebook who may not be out, and then they have to come out on Facebook to then have it align with their Tinder. This is it did some things. It wasn't as big of a violent act as other forms of trans violence that we see, but it's something he should talk about and figure out how do we make things better in the future to be more inclusive? Because now, there's more room to do better things with disability and race and et cetera.
And this app's been on the market for 4 years now? Yeah, and you're just kind of you're just now coming to this? You couldn't have had other boxes?
Yeah, it's insane.
Well, let's just, we personally know a lot of the people who have enjoyed the rewards of having a successful dating app. And let's just say, they enjoy the rewards more than they sometimes show up for work and look at the, listen.
Hey, you listen. You like what was it? That guy who bought the shavers? Like, I like the shaver so much I bought the company. I like the sex so much I started an online dating app.
That's what Ashton Kutcher was on Chelsea Handler's new show, which is something I thought I'd never say, and I was watching it. But he has a quote in there where he says Demi Moore says that to him because he's a big tech investor now. I didn't know this. He's like a billionaire, and he's like, I like something now, and I just like buy the company. And I was like, whoa, Ashton Kutcher has money like that.
Oh yeah, he's got some big money.
He was like one of the original investors in Uber, Airbnb, all these things, and he has a team of people that go try things, and if they like it a lot, they invest in it.
So he's loaded.
Ashton,
he's
come try me.
Insanely wealthy, and now has his own show on Netflix. Like,
what's his show on Netflix?
It's called The Ranch. It has terrible ratings, but he's so rich, I think they just keep him on.
So is Netflix going to become like vanity programming, sort of like the way infomercials were in the 90s, where you had like
that's a good idea,
washed up celebrity like Vicky. You remember when Vicki Lawrence and Walter Mercado did a Psychic Friends network? It really happened. Google it, loca.
Oh, yeah. Those Psychic Friend networks, those things made a lot of money because there was a lot of people out there that were kind of like looking for answers. And this is pre-Google. You couldn't just Google stuff and find. And so and then people just don't understand back in the day is like we were always looking for answers for things, and it was hard to find it unless you went to the library, unless you knew somebody. Just information was so out of your reach all the time.
So it was Vicki Lawrence and Walter Mercado did one, and it was the most hilarious ad because Vicki Lawrence did not speak any Spanish, and you had Puerto Rico, the Liberace of Puerto Rico of psychic astrology, Walter Mercado, who barely spoke English, doing an infomercial together. And so he's like, "Oh yes, I will tell you into the future very much, Vicki Lawrence." And she's like, "That's so interesting." She sort of slips into Mama's house. "That's so interesting, Walter Mercado." and it was just a hot mess. But I think it did well. You remember Dionne Warwick, Psychic Friends Network. Yeah. That was a huge thing.
It was a huge thing.
So I'm predicting here, people, you hear it here first on Feast of Fun, that vanity celebrity programming and infomercials is going to be like the new type of content. Because even Chelsea Handler's talk show on Netflix feels a little bit infomercial-y. Like it's promoting Chelsea more than it's really like giving us kind of content.
And she's doing a lot of promotion in it as she moves forward, because I think that's how she's gonna, like how she's doing the infomercial is in like a much more modern way of, like she had Wag on, the new app that's about dog walking. So she signed up to be a wagger, I guess it was called, and and they just videotaped her like going to try it out and like walking some person's dog and like talking with the owner, and it was very much like that was product placement.
Oh yeah.
Like, so, and I was like, are we all on the same page? Like she's getting money to do
pick
this
up
right
dog
now.
Poop. Like, did they show her picking up dog poop? Yeah, they showed her pick
up dog poop.
Did she eat it like Divine?
No, she didn't eat it like Divine.
She should have. But I don't know. Once somebody eats dog poop, nobody else is getting it.
And I don't think her audience would have understood that connection. Yeah. Like they don't know Divine. They don't know. I thought I would have fell out because of that. But yeah, I think you're right that there's going to be this weird fusion of what do they call it? Native content that advertisers pay for, like BuzzFeed.
Oh, so infomercials are now native content?
Yeah, so it's like instead of being like, what, you can get your dog walk through this app, we're going to make a celebrity do it on their TV show. It's going to be funny because they're bringing up dog poop, but then you're like, oh, I can get a dog walker for $10.
And I wonder what they paid for that.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting to know.
I'd like Netflix wants money. Like, they're like getting all the money.
I'd like to take a moment and just talk about High Point Coffee. It's decaffeinated, and the flavor is marvelous. You see, High Point has a special way of capturing flavor, deep brewed flavor for that awesome taste.
God.
Sorry, my bell's not working these days.
On yesterday's show, we talked to Peaches Christ, and we were talking about movies and revenge movies, and I don't remember why I brought up, but somebody mentioned in the comment, because I had mentioned I wasn't sure what the movie was, but I saw this movie about this boy, and he rode a dragon. It's somebody on YouTube, because Fausto posted up on YouTube our interview with Peaches, and the movie is called Aragon, and it's this boy is this beautiful little blonde guy, he's a teenager, and there's this woman comes out, and she's wearing battle armor, and she goes, "How do I look?" And he goes, "Fierce." you know? And so I remember like the movie theater came out in like 2004 or something like that. It's over like 10, it came out like 10 years ago. And I remember I'm like thinking, oh my God, that's great, you know? But I wondered, did they realize that it's queer, right? And then I saw it again like on television. And they had dubbed the fierce out, and they put something else in.
Really?
Yeah, they put something else in, and so somebody on YouTube just confirmed that yes, they took the fierce part out because it was too queer.
Well, this reminds me of when Logo replaced the lesbian kissing scene. This is the LGBT channel.
Oh yeah,
and they just
on
cut
Showgirls.
it out on Showgirls. The movie Showgirls did not show a same-sex kiss,
and I guess it's because they used the same version that Viacom used for. VH1. So it was the VH1 cut, and for whatever reason, the censored version for whatever reason. And it was, you know, I mean, it wasn't like they were naked kissing or anything. It was just a kiss on a stage. It was ridiculous.
It's like, it must be hard for them not beep all over you, or they like censor it down, and then they put like painted bikinis. But anyways, everybody's like, okay, it's 20 minutes into the show, and you guys have not talked about Prince yet.
Oh.
And this is something that everybody and their dog has an opinion. Probably, especially the African-American community, is right now more interested in talking about Prince's HIV status than where did Tupac, who killed Tupac.
Or is Tupac still alive?
Or Tupac's still alive, you know. And some people even arguing that Prince faked his death.
No.
Yeah.
They cremated him, right?
They might have cremated
Well, this is the thing. Is like,
you know,
do they release people's HIV statuses after they die? I don't think so.
No,
I don't think we're
don't.
ever going to get that information.
So
whether
that's
you want it or not.
taken to his grave.
Yeah, it's taken to his grave.
I mean, there's ways in which you can like look at the autopsy to see if there's certain cells present that are associated with an HIV diagnosis if someone is a drug user. And I forget the name of the cell, but I've used it in my investigations.
T-cells?
It's not T cells, but there's like a certain thing that pops up in the toxicology, how it like the chemical reaction or something.
Okay.
So there's a way to draw conclusions, but unless you get a doctor to confirm, they can be like, well, that pops up for all these other things. But there's a way that you can get hints of it.
Well, considering that his estate probably is more valuable with the presumption that Prince is a heterosexual man.
Yes.
I don't think his estate is going to release that information willingly.
No, they will never. Because even if he is positive and not actually engaging in same-sex whatever relations in his entire life, which I find hard to believe, when you say someone's HIV positive, they automatically become queer. So there's no way that status is getting out. Like, it's just not.
It's not going to happen. And really, is it any of our business?
No.
It's none of our business.
Are you kidding?
Are you having sex with Prince's ashes? And even if you were having sex with his ashes,
And also, like,
you're not going to get it because the virus is killed because he's dead too.
So what killed Prince for the record?
So it's an overdose of fentanyl, and that's what the medical examiner's office says. And if you don't know what that is, fentanyl is a synthetic opiate. It's 80 times more potent than morphine and hundreds of times more potent than heroin. So it's a super powerful opiate.
Well, so is this the rumors were that because he was a Jehovah's Witness, he would not get hip replacement surgery, which he needed from a lifetime of wearing high heels or high-heeled boots that he enjoyed because he was a little guy.
Yeah.
And so people are saying he needed this hip replacement surgery. Jehovah's Witnesses create this rule for themselves that you cannot have a blood transfusion during surgery. And so you can't do a hip replacement surgery without a blood transfusion. Therefore, he just had to manage his pain. And hence he developed a dependency on painkillers, which is what killed him.
Yeah. So it's, but it's like, that's one of those things. If it's much more powerful than heroin, I wonder if it works like to kill you more. Because I guess heroin, what does it do when it's in your system? Is it blocks your receptors for oxygen?
Like during an overdose?
Right? Yeah, during an overdose.
So how heroin... God, I know a lot lot about this, sadly. The other side of my reporting. Heroin overdose would cause for pretty much someone to go to sleep. And once you fall into an unconscious state, your brain pretty much forgets that it has lungs to operate. And so it stops sending that signal to go for you to unconsciously breathe, and you just stop breathing. It's literally like you just
so you just stop breathing. And so that stuff which I think now in Illinois you can get over the counter, right? Narcan. And so how do you give that to somebody who you think is you have it in your home in case somebody you're doing it with, like you already have to have it, right? Because once they pass out overdose, it's done, right?
Well, no, you have
No?
about a 60. I forget the time frame. It's not 60 minutes. It may be like 20 minutes.
Okay.
But there's a time frame in which someone can be administered Narcan, and they will come back to life. Heroin deaths are very rare, actually.
Oh,
Like,
really?
It's when someone like does it in an alley and they're left there for a night.
Okay.
Then they die. But usually someone finds you if you're like unconscious
Right.
for like an hour.
Well, there was, I forget, like maybe 7 or 8 years ago, there was some kind of black heroin going around here in Chicago, and people were taking it. But they said it was like much more potent than usual stuff.
Black heroin's from East Asia, and it's pretty potent. And it goes, a lot of homeless communities use it, and which means homeless people, when they overdose, are less likely to be found because they're on the street.
Right.
So yeah, dying from heroin's a little harder, and it takes a lot for you to die. So someone must have just left him there for a while, and then he went away. It was no pain. Like, he didn't wake up. It's not like a
Prince,
prescription.
they found him in the elevator or something. So
Yeah.
he would have done it and then just kind of like walked to the elevator and just...
And maybe no one knew he was in an elevator, because elevators don't move.
Right.
So maybe just closed, and then he just died in there. So that's very plausible.
Because nobody needed an elevator.
Yeah, and he probably was the only one using the elevator.
Also, too, though, if you do a certain drug like this and you do it for a number of years, it really does a number on your body, I would imagine, as well. So you're going to become, over time, more vulnerable to it.
So,
weight loss.
listeners, if you guys have elevators in your homes,
Don't take it.
Yeah.
don't take painkillers.
If you're, take the stairs.
Yeah, the stairs that you take, going up the stairs might save your life. So is there any way of knowing that Prince's, say, like his kidneys or liver or his body organs were compromised by having a compromised immune system, and that may have made him more likely to overdose?
Something his physician would know. I don't think we're going to see that in the autopsy, because once your body just shuts down, it just shuts down, and then we'd have to have a better look at the autopsy to see timelines, and his family has the right not to release
And
that.
I wonder, like, how do you even get something that strong like fentanyl? Do you just you have
Someone
a doctor?
prescribed that to him.
Somebody prescribed it to him?
So there could be a potential like lawsuit, like we saw with Michael Jackson.
Yeah. How did the Michael Jackson lawsuit result? Did they find the doctor?
He's in jail.
He's in jail.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm pretty sure he's in jail.
There's a lot of videos saying
Or he's going to jail.
on YouTube saying that Prince faked his death.
Shit.
Well, because that's what everyone says about every dead icon.
Paris Jackson took a girl to her prom.
Really?
Yeah.
Right, this year?
Why was that not bigger news?
I don't know. She's got a lot of Instagram followers, so I think she likes boys and girls, but she took a girl. As
All
her prom
right,
date.
Paris.
I
I
know.
love that.
Who's raising those kids?
The grandma.
And Blanket
Mrs.
is...
Jackson.
How old is Blanket?
A blanket's got to be like 12 or 13. I would 13, 14 maybe.
These kids.
Right.
And Prince. What's up with Prince Jackson?
Right.
Yeah.
The oldest one?
Yeah.
He's the oldest kid, right? So he
Yes.
must probably
Blanket
be like
was
20.
the baby that was being held
Yeah.
over, and they were
Yeah.
toddlers.
Yeah. So Prince is probably like 20. And is it weird that Prince or Michael Jackson named his kid Prince, and Prince and Michael Jackson didn't really get along?
That is...
Or didn't Michael Jackson want to work with Prince, and Prince was like, no.
Well, Prince was like a shady queen to other men. He
yeah?
really just working with women. That's why he's like, his legacy is all these like black women. Like he loved working with women and advising them and all that stuff. Like Beyonce, he taught her how to play the piano.
He did?
Yeah.
Oh.
He taught
Did you go to
Beyonce how to play
Beyonce
the
concert?
piano?
Yes, of course they did.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
Yeah, I saw her. I saw her last Friday.
How was it? It rained, right?
And it made it better. Like,
Oh, really?
And it rained during Purple Rain too. Like Beyonce,
Get
like
the fuck
yeah,
out.
it rained during Purple Rain. Like it's like it like
Did
all of-
the artists, did they move it up or something like that? They're like, let's move it up because it's
I
raining
think she
right now.
watched the meteorology report and was like, okay, if we start now, within 60 minutes, we're going to hit that song. So I could see her being that crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was really perfect. And then it started raining right when she started singing 1+1, I think, which is a very emotional song. So it just started, like, she was crying and it starts raining. And then she runs off stage and then they turn the whole stadium into purple. And they start playing Purple Rain. Then it starts raining. And I was like, stop it. It was too much.
What did you wear? I mean, did you have an umbrella or something? You just got wet.
I wore a jumpsuit to
Okay.
We're getting to this.
Okay.
I guess
We're
it's a
getting to
segue.
this.
I wore
Yeah.
a jumpsuit and I got wet, but my jumpsuit was handmade for me and it was great for water and
Okay.
it was perfect. Yeah.
So you didn't get cold or anything from the rain?
No, it was warm outside. It was great. It was refreshing. It wasn't that bad of a rain.
So even if you're like on the fence, a fan of Beyonce, go see Beyonce
Yes.
over seeing Madonna.
Yes. It was my 8th time seeing Beyonce.
Oh my gosh.
There's a better show.
Yes. It was a really good show. I think her Mrs. Carter tour was better. I don't like the drama of it, but this was really good.
For people who are sort of like on the fence about seeing Beyonce, what is a must? Obviously, that Purple Rain moment sounds transcendent.
Yeah, it was incredible.
But what is it about like a live show of Beyonce that is worth the high price ticket?
I think a lot of it has to do with that we've built her up to be kind of like, we don't really know Beyonce. Like, you don't see, like, Beyonce's not someone you see walking down the street. She's very guarded. She's
mysterious.
She's very mysterious. So when you're in a stadium and you're with this person who's actually quite tiny, she's like 5'1", 5'2".
Oh, really?
She's
that little?
Very small woman. And to see her is kind of overwhelming. To be like, you're actually real. And even how she performs, she's like connected to you as an audience, but you never forget that she's Madonna, God, Beyonce,
the Black
and
Madonna.
that you have paid all this money to see her, and she's here to give you the show of your life, and then she's walking out. She doesn't even play this game of like encore. No, she's like, we're done. That was the set. I'll see you later. Call me in a year. Like, she does not, like, you know, some artists will like bring you on stage and like you're not getting that with her. She's giving you a show that's tight and together, and I think it's just kind of overwhelming to see such showmanship. Like, haven't seen that in a while. Like, Michael Jackson gave a lot of showmanship.
Well, I hear that Beyonce, like Madonna with Derek Barry, she's bringing Bob the drag queen onto the stage and calling him fat too.
Is that going to happen?
Did you hear that?
No.
So Madonna had, when she was in Chicago, she brought up Derek Barry. Mm-hmm. She never identified that it was Derek Barry, but everybody knew it was. And she's like, "It's Britney, bitch." And then she like lifts up Britney's shirt and she's like, "Suck in your gut."
What kind of star are you going to be?
Yeah, like she's totally fat shaming Britney Spears.
Yeah. That's insane.
Which is what she really wanted to do to the real Britney.
Yeah. So she's being passive aggressive.
Yeah, she was really mean to her. But I asked Derek Barry about that on the red carpet experience. He was just like, I was just happy to be there.
I was like, I'm just excited.
Why wouldn't you be? You're like, it's Madonna.
Madonna can spit at me.
Jesus.
You know, poop
she
on
probably
me.
would.
And she probably will. So you just wrote another sort of inflammatory article.
I didn't even think it was that inflammatory, but yeah.
Oh, it's getting people pissed off.
Of course.
Saying your incessant need to change your fashion, to change your looks, is destroying the planet. And you hanged out with the Rational Dress Society, who wants to propose to get us, instead of wearing suits or even jeans and a T-shirt, to wear jumpsuits as a way to making the planet more, to making fashion more green.
Yes, to make the world more green. They have a very radical idea that by wearing jumpsuits every day.
So that's a very
jumpsuit.
Star Trek kind of approach.
It's a
You
very
wear like one uniform, one outfit.
And it's
that's
very
all you wear.
they're Marxists. These two women are Marxist theorists. They're professors. One's at SIC, School of the Art Institute, and then the other's at UCLA, I think, or UC Santa Barbara.
So they're Marxist fashion designers.
Professors, yeah. They're very beautiful. It's funny when you meet them. They're beautiful.
And fashion really does take a toll on the environment and on people, because it's like we got these fashion, but it's very cheap to produce. These people are working very low-wage jobs.
Yes.
And also, having to grow this cotton and making these synthetic fabrics and stuff like that. It takes a lot from the environment. And so their philosophy is like, you have this one jumpsuit and that's all you ever have to wear.
Yeah. So yeah. So
sounds boring as fuck if you ask me, but I got to say the jumpsuits do look fierce.
They're really good.
I'm really a fan of jumpsuits. I think they're really
We should
hot.
get you one. I'll call them.
I want one for sure.
Get you size. They hand make them, and they're in 248 sizes. They use NASA sizing data that the military uses, so to get military grade sizes that fit everyone perfectly. So it's tailored exactly to your body. And
they also say on their website in the article too, I think that you wrote that like they also will give you the pattern. You can make it yourself.
If you don't want to,
but I looked on the website, I couldn't find the pattern.
Yeah, I don't know where it's supposed to be.
Because I might not want it in white or black.
Okay, well I can get you a pattern. But yeah, if you don't want to spend the money on it, you can make it yourself. And how this came about, it's a jumpsuit, and what they were doing is these two women who are really fabulous, Mara Brewer and Abigail Glom Lathbury, and they were having conversations about fashion and where fashion was going, and they're both trained fashion designers. Like Abigail teaches at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, which is one of the top art schools in the world, and she's like a lead in the department of fashion. So she was like, what would it be like if we just wore one thing every day? Because we live in this world where it's called fast fashion, and I wasn't aware of this term until I was doing this article. I spent a month with these people, and fast fashion is like fast food, and what it refers to is that we have stores like H&M, Forever 21, Wet Seal that produce looks that are similar to runway looks within like 3 weeks of them being on the runway. So it was like this really quick turnaround. And not only are they reproducing these looks that you see at like Armani or Chanel at lower costs and that are cheaper quality, but they do it at such a quick pace that it puts so much strain on the environment. That we're always pulling resources from the fields, and we're putting, and we're having to subcontract like thousands of factories in like East Asia and South America to kind of keep up with this demand of always having a different type of blouse, because while one factory is doing one design, another one needs to start doing the other design that just came out. So you have this huge like system, a global system that's extorting and exploiting workers globally to produce really low quality pieces that only last. Like H&M owns the fact that if you wash their garment 10 times, it will fall apart. Like that's what they'll say that. It's like in the small print. Like they know this stuff's falling apart. So
just for the record, if you buy a Feast of Fun t-shirt, it gets enhanced through a couple of washes. We use like a special kind of glitter ink that gets sparklier and brighter in the first 5 or 6 washes.
That's
so it kind of a little muted the first time you have it, and then when you wash it, like the glitter pops.
That's amazing.
See, some of the paint washes
yours
off.
isn't fast fashion.
No.
Well, and the other thing too, I believe that actually the most economical, most green clothing choices is a t-shirt and jeans. Steve Jobs, was onto something, because the jeans are designed to, your legs move more than your upper body does. And so your jeans you can't make a cheaper, more ecological, less fabric than a pair of jeans, can
Exactly.
you?
No, you can't.
And a t-shirt is a woven out of one tube. So, you can't get it for cheaper and easier. And
exactly.
So why are these two women proposing that we wear jumpsuits? Because if like the elbow gets torn of the jumpsuit, you can repair it, but most people are likely just to throw the entire suit away and buy a new one.
Yeah, that's a great question. So jumpsuit was more of a symbolic idea for them. They wanted a garment that was really wearable, but that also was comfortable. And jumpsuits come from, I didn't know this, but they come from a feminist movement of fashion, to where the jumpsuit kind of came about, especially for women during post-Victorian era, when women are trying to get out of the house, out of corsets, things like that, and move into the workforce, and they needed a bifurcated leg to do work, so a pant. Women never had pants before. Like Chanel,
Bloomers, they call them, right?
Yeah, and I think Coco Chanel designed the first like more mass-produced pant in 1912.
I always think of Pam Grier for like all her 1960s blaxploitation movies, and she always wore like a jumpsuit.
Yeah,
and she actually, I saw her speak at like Wizard World a few years ago, and she said she was talking to Quentin Tarantino about doing another type of movie, and she's like, and there will be jumpsuits in it.
Jumpsuits, these are amazing.
And people were like, woo!
They're amazing. And like so the history of jumpsuit, it comes from the first time it came about, it's called a union suit. So it was used for like unionizing women workers, and that's how they went on about. So these designers really wanted to be conscious of this move, this kind of how the body has engaged in political movements of regaining fashion and space.
It's kind of interesting because these women that are working on this, they belong to the Rational Dress Society, which is kind of like, it's a loose kind of organization that just, they say, pops up from time to time. And I first heard about this when we were watching something on, I believe it was Netflix or YouTube, and it was like people, like, what killed you in your Victorian home? And women's fashion often would kill them back in the day, because they'd have these corsets that were whalebone, and it would, like, they'd have to, it's so tight that their body would grow, and like it would indent their liver, and it would cause them to have like some kind of organ failure, or they couldn't breathe. And then they were asked, these women were leaving the home to go to work, and they're working in these factories, and like the tradition was, you have to wear, this is what women should wear, and they're just like, they're trying to do hard labor wearing this kind of stuff, and so eventually women are just like, fuck this shit, and
they couldn't do it. And then jumpsuits that's how jumpsuits come about, because men were wearing like denim, men had various garments to wear, but women needed something that covered the whole body at the times. So that's where jumpsuits come from. And they and what's interesting about this idea of like wearing one thing a day and is that fashionable, they would argue that they talked about this thing with me that's not in the article, but we are suffering a choice paralysis, which I've only heard used for Grindr, because I work
choice paralysis
is an actual term, and there's like a theorist behind it, but it's this idea that when the human mind is presented with too many choices, your mind just locks down and can't choose something, so it has to be forced to choose something. And they said that the fashion world, through this fast fashion, that you walk down the street and you see so many different garments that you need to buy and you can afford, that you're going through a choice paralysis where you just buy things you don't need and you let them fall apart and you're not engaging with it critically. So through that, we're not actually being fashionable, but we're being being more like slaves to capitalism. Yeah. So when we're wearing fashionable things, we're just wearing things that we know are going to fall apart, and we're not buying them because they look good, but we know because we're supposed to just do it.
And it's also like a sales technique I heard from one person that sells expensive shoes. Is when a woman comes into a store, he's just like, I look at her and I think to myself, what kind of shoe does she need? And I show her that one shoe. Yep. And it's like more often than not, she'll buy that one shoe because she knows that that's one. But if I offer her 10 different choices, then she's not going to it's what you said. It's like that choice paralysis. There's so many choices. I don't know what to choose, so I'm not going to choose any.
Yeah, and I go there every day. Like, I have terrible choice paralysis. Like, I'm on Grindr, and I'm like, I don't know who I want to talk to. This is too many people. or rather, I go into like a bakery. That's like my friends make fun of me. I'll walk into like a bakery or a restaurant, and there's so much. I'll always just be like, waiter, what do you eat? I'll eat what you're having. And I don't.
He's like, I eat ass. And you're like, I'll have that too.
Hello. Send that on over. But these artists were engaging with that idea, and they're like, well, what would be true fashion is not having choice, but wearing one thing and letting your personality shine through, and then accessorizing it and building off that piece. That's real fashion, and that's real choice, is by having no choice. So I thought that was really interesting.
Hold on a second. So you went to Catholic school, and you had to wear the same uniform every day.
And I got to tell you, it made it so much easier to just wake up in the morning. And I had like when I was in grade school, I had like 2 shirts and 1 pair of pants.
And I went to Catholic school for 2 months. And the fact I was like, get me the fuck out of here. It's like, I felt it was hot. In Latin America, we had polyester shirts, and it was like, this doesn't breathe.
Yeah.
We had days where we didn't have to wear a uniform, but we had to like make a donation. It was like $1 or 50 cents to charity. Yeah. So we'd have days like where you could dress up. Like, and when we were kids in grade school, we'd have 50s days, so you could dress up like you were from the 1950s. Because, Happy Days was big at the time. And so I think that probably cost us 50 cents or something. It went to something at school, some kind of charity.
Yeah, my school, unfortunately, in the 70s had like a Sadie Hawkins dance where all the guys got to cross-dress.
Yeah. And one time I wore a sweater with no shirt under it, and I was sent to the principal office for because it was the 80s, so it was one of those loose kind of sweaters. And I got sent to the principal's office and got detention for what I was wearing.
Oh, wow.
And so did this girl, my friend Sandy, and we met because we were hauled in front of the... we met and became friends because we were hauled in front of the same... Like, at the same time, there was like 5 or 6 of us, and she was wearing like a mini skirt and like low cleavage. Because Sandy was like, she was young, she was pretty, she was 5'10", blonde hair, blue eyes, big tits. And so we used to, after high school or during high school, we would have her go outside the bar and ask men to buy 6-packs. And so we became fast friends over that. Like, well, we're both dressed like whores. Let's be friends.
Let's be whores together. Yay.
Well, Zach, what was your schooling experience? Did you ever have to wear a uniform of any kind?
No, I didn't. Where I'm from, we didn't have any private schools really at the time. It wasn't until I was a junior that we got our first Catholic school. I'm from a part of Tennessee that didn't have a lot of schools. Surprise.
Much education of any kind.
We had like a school. There was a school.
A school.
There were a few schools, but there wasn't a lot of private schools. But no, I didn't have to. I got to dress how I wanted to dress, and I was named most fashionable in my high school.
Ooh.
That's code for gay.
That was code for gay, and most likely to succeed, which is also good for gay.
Code for you can know how to read.
Yeah, you know how to read, and you're getting the fuck out of here. So I got to express myself in so many ways, and I really played with fashion a lot in high school. So that was weird when I got one of these jumpsuits. So that's how this article came about, is that I met these artists, and I was at an event, and I saw this woman wearing a jumpsuit. It wasn't even the artist. And I was like, oh my God, I love that. Where'd you get it? She goes, oh, it was made for me by these 2 artists. And it's actually a statement. Like, I'm only supposed to wear this every day. I was like, well, I want one. And I wanted to wear it to an event for charity. So I contact them, and I go into a fitting, and we're talking, and they're giving me the whole idea. I had no idea that it was all this Marxist theory and stuff. And I was like, this is really fascinating. And I like to do things that really challenge me as a writer. And this was at a moment where I was exhausted from writing about violence, like I always am. And I was like, could I wear a jumpsuit every day? And I just kept thinking about that every day and thinking about it. And then I got my jumpsuit, and I was like, I don't want to wear this every day. I want to wear it once and throw it away. Not throw it away, but put it in my closet. Not throw it away, sorry. Throw it away in my closet. Yeah. And then from there, I was like, I'm going to write about this. So I told them, I was like, I'm going to come hang out with you guys. So I spent a lot of time with these 2 women, mainly Abigail, and I went to her studio. I met people who made jumpsuits, and it was just an interesting practice on how much, how much value we put on the clothing that we wear and what that means when we walk in a room and what does it mean to be just like everyone else. Because I remember I was going to put on a jumpsuit to go interview them and a bunch of people wearing jumpsuits, and I didn't because I didn't want to be dressed like everyone else. And my friend was like, but that's the point, just to let that go, because that what you're wearing actually isn't your choice. Like some marketing firm told you to wear that, all the other people that you don't know. But what would it be like to like make the choice to be like, you know what, fuck that. I'm going to wear what everyone else is going to wear. I'm going to bond over that kind of brotherhood or sisterhood. So it was really interesting process to do the article and spend time with them. And it made me think about clothing. So now I'm also like always thinking about where's my clothing coming from? Did I actually want to buy this, or did I see it in a magazine? So I think thinking about jumpsuits, when we think about these kind of extremes of like, what would it be like to throw your whole closet away and only wear one thing, makes you reconsider what you value and what you think about your own fashion.
Well, that Michael Kors, the designer, he was asked on Project Runway when he was on it, is like, why do you always just wear black all the time? And he's just like, well, as a teenager, I really experimented with fashion. I create fashion. He's just like, I don't want to think about for myself anymore, and black looks good on me. So everything I wear is always just black. Yeah. And that's it.
Go ahead.
And I was going to say, I've been told that some of the most successful people in the world, Steve Jobs, Michael Kors, have a uniform. They only wear one thing or a certain type of thing, and that's it. And GQ always tells men in the men's wear area that your closet shouldn't be very big. It should only be a few items. So there's something to be said about not being overwhelmed, not to open your closet during the morning and be given this choice paralysis.
And that cheap clothing really is just very destructible.
It just goes away. Falling apart.
Then I think that's why it's really important, I think, to, buy clothing that I think allows you to express yourself creatively within certain parameters. And that's why I think a T-shirt is such a revolutionary piece of clothing, because it's not considered poor people's there's not a class assumption with it. Like very, very wealthy people will wear a T-shirt, and very, very poor people in third world countries will wear a T-shirt too. And certainly that's why the bread and butter of our fashion collection, feastoffun.com/store, features a lot of custom made and homemade fashion garments. And right now we have I'm Not an Evil Queen, I Just Got a Bad Edit, that's available for sale. If you order it today, chances are you'll get it in the mail by Pride.
And it's really great.
And it's a funny way of saying that we all have, shady things that we've said, and if someone gives us a bad edit, we'll be the new evil queen on a reality TV show. Another shirt that's also available for sale is I Want to Make Out with Your Butt. That's available there. Now, Zach, you say that actually talking about anal sex, because this is where we got to
eating butts.
Eating butts is the trick to nabbing a straight identifying guy.
That's what I have been told. I was at a party this weekend, and someone, I was actually at the pool, and someone told me this. It was a pool party. Someone told me this, but it was a gay man who has sex with primarily straight identified men. And he said, and it was right after I'd had this conversation with a straight man in the pool who said, I'm really into women eating my ass. I was like, excuse me?
The straight guy wanted his butt eaten.
Yeah, he was like talking about it very openly to me by ourselves in the pool. And I thought it was very bizarre.
Well, he wanted you to do it.
Yeah, that's what he wanted me to do. And I was like, God, that was so interesting. I haven't had that experience in a while. So I was talking to these gays at the pool that I knew, and I brought it up. And he was like, girl, let me tell you, that's how I have sex every weekend. He's like, what you do is like straight men these days will like hints that they like their ass eaten, and girls are trying it out more and more. He's like, so what you do is that you kind of throw out a hook with that on it, like, oh, so who here likes ass eating, whatever, however you want to play that. And if you get a straight man to own up to the fact that one, he's interested or has had it done or would like to, then you use that moment to be like, yeah, it's really great. As a gay man, I love eating ass. Like that's what I like doing. Because these straight men are still not in a space where they want to eat each other's asses, but they want their asses eaten. So you establish in this relationship that the straight man's open to women eating his ass, you are gay and you like eating ass, and then you let him sit on that. You don't even pursue it. You don't say, let me eat your ass. And he's like, the test is that you drop that, and then a few minutes later, he'll probably be like, so why do you like eating it? Like, I don't know. My girlfriend, I'm always worried about her eating my ass. And then you're like, well, and you kind of explain it in a sexy way. And he says, eventually they'll come up to you and be like, so would you be into it as long as you don't say something? And there's that kind of like, and everyone be very wary of these men that say, as long as you don't say something, because there's real violence that comes from that kind of fear of getting out. I mean, I write about that a lot.
Well, they have to trust you. And the other thing, too, is you need to separate them from the pack. You have to get them alone. They're not just going to be like, hey, buddies, I'm going to leave and this guy's going to go eat my ass for a while.
Nope.
You know, it's interesting. I hooked up with this one guy once, and he said that he primarily identified as straight, and he said he started hooking up with men when he was in high school, because he and some of his football buddies all got together. There's like 4 or 5 of them. I'm like, well, how did they even start? Did you guys just start blowing each other? He goes, no, interesting enough, you know, it started with somebody eating somebody's ass. And so they just started like eating each other's ass, and from there it went to something else. Because like you said, women aren't going to eat their ass.
Yeah, they're not. And that's what I asked a few other straight friends, and they're like, yeah, I would be interested, but my girlfriend or this girl would not want to do it. So I think, and it goes back, and I've written about this a lot before. My column, I said the way that we end homophobia is that we destigmatize assholes. That's the only way. We don't have to talk about like, oh, I'm just like you, I can get married like you, I can like raise a child. It's like, no, it's about the butts. It's about butts. That's what it's about.
Poo-poo in the butt.
It's about like, it's not about child rearing. It's really about where you're sticking your dick, and if that's destigmatized. So once we allow people to just fuck whatever they want to fuck, then all this stuff will kind of fall apart.
That's what that African minister went viral.
Oh yeah, that's all he talked about.
The gays poo-poo in the butt.
Yep.
Poop in the poo-poo.
Yep.
Right? What was he saying?
They eat the poo-poo.
They eat the poo-poo. He's saying they eat poop.
Eat the poo-poo.
And some gay guys do.
And some they're into
and some straight people do.
But that's tied to like a very clear line of like what are in the Bible and
there's
other
something
religions.
different.
But if you go to scatguys.com, and dear listener, if you're eating, if you have a sensitive stomach, don't do this. But Google it. Google it when you like, you know, before going to surgery, don't eat between 24 hours. Go to scatguys.com and you can see the most horrifying. It's a
scat chat or
it's a dating scat chat, scat guys or something like that. You can meet other guys who enjoy basically eating the poo-poo, and they have very graphic selfies and photos of them with turds in their mouth.
We were just at the Howard Brown picking up some stuff for the kitchen from their resale shop, a local resale shop. I'm sorry, the Brown Elephant. We went to the resale shop.
Howard Brown is
Howard
a health
Brown,
center.
the Gay Men's Health Center has resale shops called the Brown Elephant, right? And they had they always have condoms out there, and they had some today, and they were like studded condoms. And I'm just kind of like, have you ever been fucked by somebody wearing like a ribbed condom or a studded condom?
No, but isn't it for like
that's for vaginas, I think, mostly, right?
Well, a lot of
it's because I was just like, it happened to me once, and I was just like, what is up? He's just like, oh, these are ribbed. I'm just like, oh, get it, take it away from me.
Someone told me you need ribbed condoms because if you're going to go 4-wheeling, you need the right wheels or something along that line. Because like the ribs are kind of like dirt,
traction?
like the dirt wheels, the dirt bike wheels, and like there's poop up there. Someone told me that.
Having anal sex with ribbed condoms is kind of like playing a guiro, you know? It's like you don't. It goes and inside the butt. It's not a good thing. You know, a lot of STI clinics and people sort of in the gay men's healthcare industry, they're concerned that all this ass eating might be raising hepatitis and meningitis and syphilis transmission rates. And so they're encouraging guys to use finger vibrators.
So you can kiss the butt around there, but don't get right on there.
Yeah.
That's boring.
But see, the thing about
that's what I told her. I was just like, you don't eat ass, do you, honey?
Well, and, you know, it's like, and I was telling a friend of mine, it's like that gay men in unprecedented numbers are now stopping new HIV infections by going on PrEP. And, you know, and he asked me,
is it effective?
I said about 98% effective.
Oh my God.
Thank you very much. This is why you listen to this show, isn't it? For those that kind of humor.
Jokes.
Oh my God.
So the Chicago Tribune here in town is changing its
rebranding
name to inspired by the Joan Crawford movie Trog to Tronc. Tronc. So the Chicago Tribune and the Tribune Media Company is now Tronc.
And now they have this beautiful Tribune building downtown that they used to print the newspapers in, but they don't anymore because I guess the rattling shook the building too much. But it's this beautiful, you know, Art Deco kind of building. I think it's Art Deco, right?
Yeah.
Would you say it's Art Deco? Yeah.
I would say it's modern Gothic.
Modern Gothic?
Yeah.
Okay, modern Gothic building. And so it's beautiful. And so now it's going to be the Tronc Tower.
The Trump Tower.
Facing the Trump Tower, and the Willis Tower is going to change.
The Willis
Hancock
Tower
chair.
is changing its name, and so is the Hancock. The Hancock is now changing its name to the Cock Tower.
Just the Cock Tower.
And what are they naming
Just
the
the tip.
restaurant?
Tip of the cock.
The Tip of the Cock.
The restaurant on top, tip of the
That's
cock.
a joke, but they really are considering changing the name of
Yeah.
Hancock and Willis / Sears Tower.
But we always recommend to people coming to town, if you want to go up to the top of the Willis Tower, it costs money, so just go to the top of the Hancock.
Top of the cock.
Top of the cock, because it's pretty much the same view. And you can just take that $26 or whatever it is to get to the top of the Willis and buy one cocktail, because that's how much a cocktail is going to cost.
And you'll get
up in the signature room.
Now, we try to take my niece up to the Tip of the Cock, the Hancock. Because
The signature room.
The signature room, right? It's free to get in.
Yeah.
The drinks are ridiculously
Yeah.
expensive. And we're like, and we went up the elevator, and as we went up, she turned darker and darker green.
Oh, no.
Like, we got to the top, ding! And she's like, I didn't want to be here. I gotta
You're
go
like,
back."
let's go
It,
right
does,
back
it,
there.
it gives you the willies looking out sometimes, because you're just like, you get vertigo from it.
Yeah.
Well, that's why the Willis Tower gives you the Willis. The Willis Tower has those cubicles in the sky that are made out of plexiglass.
The 9 cylinders or 9.
And those are relatively new, right?
Yeah, that was made in that was 80s. It's the same. Wait, the
cubes that came out.
I thought you were talking about the design.
No, the design,
of the
that's
building
from
is-
the 70s.
So in the 70s,
Yeah.
it's 9 cylinders. So I was I studied architecture in college. So,
Yeah. But
those
what's
cubes,
in that
the cube
coffee?
platforms,
that you're drinking.
it's not a deconstructed coffee, though.
No, it's not a deconstruction.
What?
In Melbourne, Australia,
Well,
they
you're
have
going
this,
so fast. I'm
sorry.
going to catch you up here. So the Chicago Tribune's calling itself Tronk. No relationship to Trog, the
No.
movie. They are seriously considering the name change of the Sears to the Willis to something new. But we
Yes.
don't know what that will
No.
be yet. Because they're selling the
They're
naming
selling
rights.
the naming rights,
Yes.
yeah.
It's usually the person with the most office space can.
Well, who's
will
like
usually buy it.
who would be a likely candidate right now? The Chick-fil-A Tower. That would really piss off a lot of gays.
That would be terrible. I don't know.
The BK
But
special.
the other McDonald's, who has their corporate offices out in Oak Brook, and so they've been out there for years, is now moving to the old Harpo Studios,
Which is my neighborhood.
really.
Ew, you can get McDonald's.
So you're gonna have a
It's
lot of
literally
rich
down the streets,
McDonald's CEOs.
Grinder's
working
going to be on point.
Yeah. You'll be like, does that come with special sauce? Yes, I'll take fries with
I'm gonna
that.
stick my nuggets in your special sauce.
All these businesses are moving to that neighborhood. Like Google just opened up.
Oh, really?
And I'm
Did they
just-
move from where they were before? Because they were on Hubbard,
They
right?
built a whole new complex. It's insane.
Oh,
it's right
wow.
around the corner. Every time I walk around, I'm like, God, so nice.
I want to be one of those people that works for Google that
Do it. Get a
all
job at
day,
Google.
all day long goes like, yeah, that's a great idea. Oh, that's a great idea. Oh, that's
It'll
a
cost
fantastic.
$10 million to implement that. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's try it. Yes, man.
Well, it's like we went to a YouTube sort of like, creators workshop gathering kind of thing. And it was like, and everybody
Creator
there was
studio,
like
yeah.
creator studio. And everybody was like, this is broken. This is broken. This is broken. And they're like, oh, great. Wonderful. They never fixed anything.
So in Melbourne, Australia, there's a coffee shop that is saying it's reached peak hipsterdom because they are now serving deconstructed coffee. So somebody went in there and they ordered a flat white coffee, and they got in 3 separate cups the espresso, the hot water, and then the steamed milk. And so you kind of mix it on your own and have your own proportions.
Oh, but the espresso's already brewed.
Yeah, the espresso's brewed, the water's hot, but they serve it to you on like this little tray, like, here you go.
And then you
you put it together.
Well, I made a deconstructed margarita.
Yeah.
That was made with like Jello shots, Jello cubes that were infused with orange liqueur, and then you poured the Jello cubes had the booze, and then you put lemonade around it, and it wasn't that bad actually. But I like deconstructed foods and cocktails and stuff like that.
But that is peak hipster.
Yeah.
You come out, you can't even order a coffee or a flat white. You can't even order a flat white. You get it and you have to build it and play with it.
One thing I don't like, and I don't know where this came from, is deconstructed Caesar salads. It's a very beautiful plate, but could you please cut the lettuce?
The big romaine leaf.
Yeah. Toss that shit, okay? Toss it like I toss salads of straight guys.
Yes, ma'am. Hey, guys, we want to remind you that Feast of Fun is made possible because of generous support of fantastic, beautiful, fabulous, fierce people just like you. Go to feastoffun.com/donate and take a little bit of Monty Hunty to make your favorite Feast of Funty shine and glow.
And the best way to support the podcast is to become a member, and you can do that at feastoffun.com/plus, because your contribution to the show is what makes this show happen. We wouldn't be able to talk to fantastic people like Zach Stafford if it weren't for you. I Googled your name today, and a hot wrestler came up, too.
Really?
Yeah, and he grew up nearby where I grew up. He's from Cambridge Springs.
I wonder if he's like my whatever spirit animal or something.
He's like your doppelganger.
Parallel universe.
I bet he's white, though.
He is
Is
white.
he white?
He's white. He's white. His Zach Stafford has earned his second consecutive trip to the wrestling tournament. Now he hopes to do some damage in Hershey.
That's kind of hot.
It is kind of hot.
I'm about it. Hey, Zach
Yeah.
Stafford.
Hell
Damn,
yeah, Zach
he's got
Stafford.
he's really cute.
He's meaty.
That's a big boy.
He's a big wrestler boy. You
I
know
love
what?
that my
he,
face
he
comes-
might be short though.
I love that. Who has more pictures on Google Images right now?
I
It's
think
about
you
you
do.
guys are about tied together. He's really cute. Cambridge Springs football. He's in
Yeah.
football and in wrestling.
Oh no, I win because mine are tied to articles that are not my face though. So if you Google my name, every article has a picture with me tagged in there.
Ah, there you go.
I win, Zach Stafford, wrestler.
I guess you'll have to bottom for him.
My mother.
Because that's how wrestling works, right?
Really?
The person who wins gets to top. The person who loses has to bottom.
Well, I'm in love with Ryan Westbrook,
Oh, who's
the
that?
racist teenager. He was a senior from high
Oh God,
school.
I saw you post that. Yeah,
He's
He
like,
is
Zach's
so
like
fucking
hand over his
hot.
face, like, oh no.
I like laughed at that because I have that moment so much with
Yeah.
racist people in the media. Like I'll meet someone to do a story, and I'm like, "You're really hot," and like I will have relations with people who are really problematic. And I always tell my friends, like white supremacy fucks you every day. At least I consented to it if I have sex with. So like with him, I would consent. Like it would be a
Yeah.
consensual thing.
Call
So
me
it's
anything
fine.
you want.
Like whatever.
Spray painting it on my back.
Like
His neck is so wide.
that's what racism does.
yeah.
No, because all the other people that got arrested for writing all that like racist graffiti in the high school, they weren't very cute. But man, Ryan Westbrook, honey, when you get out of jail, honey, give me a call. So this is a show that we're working on, which the researching this is fantastic, and you might want to steal this
join us for
idea. Is hot men who've been in prison in the past 20 years.
Can't.
Why?
It's too much.
You don't want to sexualize the prison population? Come on.
There's a captive audience there.
No, people would be. I mean, that's like people are really into hot criminals. It's like their
They have
thing.
those whole dating websites. I looked up my friends were fascinated with this murder in my hometown because this guy had murdered his Sunday school teacher, and then he did terrible things to her body. And I found him on one of those those prison sites. I'm like, he got even hotter.
Well, I think there's something tied to being really hot and being a criminal. And, I don't want to stigmatize beautiful people or conventionally attractive people. Is that, when everybody sort of kisses your ass and everyone's like, oh my God, you're so beautiful.
You can get away with murder until they catch you for murder, and then they put you away.
Yeah.
And so we're doing a show on really hot guys. It turns out that both Soloflex models, both Randy Martson and Randy Potter. I'm sorry, James Martson, not the actor, but the Soloflex model, and Randy Potter served prison time for different crimes
wow.
they did. Yes, both of those Soloflex guys that you masturbate to were in jail at one point in time, which is amazing.
It's so sad. I knew exactly what you were talking about too.
Yeah, the guy, and the one who served the most time in prison was the hard body is good to find guy, the first one. Mm-hmm. They found him. So Soloflex was a company that was started by a Air Force pilot, a retired Air Force pilot who built airplanes. And they were the first Soloflexes were built were the UFOs in Area 51.
Oh.
And so the guy moved his company to Oregon, and put an ad in the newspaper looking for a young man with a good body. And this guy shows up, and they made him into an international celebrity with those ads. I mean, those ads were iconic, right? And so his head got so big, and he worked for a family's company. There's a financial investment firm, and he embezzled over $250,000.
Damn.
And so he went to jail for that. And the other guy who later replaced him, Randy, I'm going to forget his last name, he stole a bunch of company secrets from the original Soloflex company to start Bowflex, and was sued and spent some time in jail for that, as well as having to pay them, I believe, $9 million in damages.
God.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was like, it got me so excited because I was thinking about that guy with the blue eyes.
Yes, I know exactly. But he's now signed to a modeling agency.
He's now a model, you know? And I'm just like, so be careful, baby, because those hot guys that you hook up with,
they're crazy.
They might fuck you up.
Yeah, and your credit.
Yeah. If I was any more attractive, I'd be in prison or I'd be dead.
You sure would. Thank you, Zach, for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Everybody have a good weekend.
Bye.
Bye.